All right, this video we're going to talk about how to cure opioid addiction. And of course this is going to be a little bit controversial because I think not everybody really is buying into this quite yet. But in my opinion, and there's certainly some evidence, some hard evidence for this, there are addictions are forms of habits, okay? And there's a great book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhig. If you haven't picked that up, go check that out. It's awesome. Basically, Charles talks about a habit being three things: a trigger, a routine, and a reward, right? So essentially, you have a trigger, like you walk into the kitchen, okay? And I'm just going to say a different habit than opioids, but so you walk into the kitchen every morning, and for the last 20 years, you've been having 7 strips of bacon. And when you walk into the kitchen, your brain knows that every morning you have 7 strips of bacon, and that trigger has happened. You walk into the kitchen, that your brain tells you you got to go get 7 strips of bacon, period. You're not going to walk out of that kitchen, you're not going to start your day without 7 exactly strips of bacon, okay? And once you have those strips of bacon, that is a reward, because our brains are, we're satiated with food, okay? I mean, good food, fat is awesome. Our brains love it. And so we say, great, that was the reward. So trigger, routine for a reward. So opioids are the same. We have chemicals in our brain that say, yes, we like opioids. We actually produce opioids ourselves in our body for different reasons, and one of them is, like, you get that runner's high. The runner's high is basically opioids in our body. So so the opioids are the same. It's narcotic pain medication. Heroin is the same. These are all in the same kind of class of medication or drugs from the same plant. So you have a trigger. Maybe that trigger is pain initially, right? Maybe you have a surgery and you have a trigger of pain. You go, okay, well, I take this pain medication and my pain goes away. That's the routine is going and getting the pain, pill, taking the pill, and then the reward is the pain goes away. You feel better, you feel high, a little bit depending on the drug. So that is the trigger, routine, reward. Now, what happens is, once you move away from that surgery, and it's interesting that the American College of Surgeons just came out with a recommendation that nobody should have narcotic pain medication more than 3 days after surgery. I think that's maybe a little bit short, but you get the point. It shouldn't be really much more than about a week. 5 to 7 days, I would imagine, for almost any surgery, you should be totally off narcotic pain medication, and that does not happen. Many times that does not happen, depending on the surgery. But anyway, so after you get farther out from that surgery, say like 5, 7, 10 days, if you're still taking it, the reason is because your brain has built this pathway, and then you get a little bit of pain, and your brain tells you you have to do that routine for the reward, right? And so your brain makes you go and say, it says, you got to do that routine. And if you don't do it, it doesn't stop, right? You don't say, I'm just going to forget about it. It doesn't stop. Your brain keeps going. You got to do it, you got to do it, you got to do it, you got to do it. So you go and do that. You get the pill. You take the pill. You feel better, right? That reinforces that that's a valid pathway, your brain, right? So next time it's stronger. You're like, oh yeah, that works. Okay, brain goes, yeah, that works. We're going to do that again. So I think this is the main issue with this, opioids. And there's a great study that was done on Vietnam vets. A lot of them did heroin there. Only 2% of the Vietnam vets that came back continued on heroin. And they think that that's because they were changing their environment, which is a trigger. Okay, so they stop that trigger. So how are you going to break this up? You're either going to change the trigger or avoid the trigger, or change the routine for a different reward. Because if the trigger ends up being there, you have to supplant that routine with something else so that you get a similar reward. Your brain goes, yeah, okay, this pathway is different, but it's all right. I'm accepting it. So essentially that is the treatment or the cure for opioid addiction. Remove the trigger or avoid the trigger, change the routine for a different reward. And many times that the triggers are environmental. Patients that maybe are homeless are going around the same population and somebody does heroin in front of them, that's a trigger. They see it, they want to do it. Their brain goes, that's it, that's for you. And they get around that same environment. Once you take them out of that environment, they'd have no problem. They go to rehab. They're like, I'm clean, I'm fine, no problem. Go out in the real world. Go back to the same exact environment. Problem, right? So very interesting, very difficult to treat, but I think this is the basis of the treatment. This should be the basis of the treatment. This is not everything, certainly, but I think this is a very important knowledge piece for people to know that maybe is not quite very mainstream yet. And I think we'll find out that it should be. Anyway, tell me what you think. If you think this is a great idea or you think it's a stupid idea, let me know in the comments below. If you like the video or you think somebody you know could use it, share it with them. Subscribe to my channel. If you will, thank you very much. I'll see you next time.